How many times have we fallen short of achieving our dreams when maybe it just took one more day, one more final push? I guess we'll never know, right? I'm not satisfied with that answer. In this episode, we're going to talk about some strategies to keep you committed so that way you're ready to make that final push to get you to the dreams that you were meant to achieve. Stick with us. Hey everyone, John here. 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 Welcome to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. Hey everyone, John here. Welcome to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. It's that time already. We are wrapping up another season, season 11. And in this season, we've talked about how to kickstart your new year. Well, today we're going to discuss all the times that we've abandoned our dreams just shy of when we were almost there. I'll never know how many times that I quit, and all it took was one more day to get there. All it took was reaching out to one more person. All it took was applying for that additional job offer. And I am not satisfied, and neither shall you be, with not knowing that answer. So I want to focus this season closer and finish up this season of kickstarting your new year with some strategies to help you stay committed the next time that feeling of, am I good enough or should I just give up, pops in your head. So let's get started. I want to talk about some of the topics that we covered in this season, and I would encourage you to go listen or maybe re-listen. There's several podcasts that I'm listening to. Maybe it's on a run or in the car, and I'm getting bits and pieces of the information, but I will flag it. I'll save it. I'll send it to somebody so I got it captured somewhere, and then I will go back and I will listen to it. I don't know how many times that I've re-listened to podcasts or audiobooks, and I always take something a little bit different. It depends on your mindset that you're in. It depends on the environment that you're around. So I would encourage you to go back and take a listen to some of the episodes that we covered in this season, which was all about kickstarting your new year. One of my favorites that we started out with was building that strong foundation. If we don't have a strong foundation, it's just like building a house or building anything that we're going to continue to add on to. If that foundation is a little rocky or unsettled, we may get to level 10. But when we hit level 11, that's when things start to get out of balance. Our goals begin to become misaligned. So it's important to set that strong foundation. Another topic episode that we covered was the importance of taking small steps. And we're going to talk about why that's an important strategy, staying committed. Go back and take a listen to that episode. We are bombarded with distractions on a day-to-day basis. The episode dealing with minimizing those distractions was a key step into helping me really get laser focused on my goals and where I wanted to go. And then transforming fear to use as our ally was an important part of hitting record, going before I was ready, and starting this podcast. And last but not least, things may not be going your way. In fact, you may not have even started. So allowing yourself to hit that reset button, to give you that psychological reset, is an important part of how we continue to grow. Oftentimes it's looked at as a failure, but guess what? I'm here to tell you, failure is an option. It's okay to hit that reset. It's okay to learn from our mistakes, figure out what we need to start, stop, and continue, and then move on from there. So all of the episodes have been centered around this big theme, kickstarting your new year, so you create the best version of yourself in 2025. In this episode, I want to cover 3 strategies because I know too many people that have set a dream. Maybe it's been their whole life. Maybe it's been just a recent dream that they have, and they get started, they get down the road. Maybe it's that new company, that new business. Maybe it's expanding into a new warehouse or a new area. Maybe it's getting into a totally different profession. Maybe it's going back to school. Maybe it's changing your degree program. My dream was to become a doctor. And I wonder if I would have just given it one more year, maybe I could have become what I had always dreamed of. So I don't ever want to wonder if I just would have given it one more, if I could have achieved that dream. So one of the first things and strategies that I have used is finding motivation when it begins to fade, or renewing your motivation begins to fade. And what I'm talking here is really staying inspired throughout the goal. And a lot of research has gone behind motivation, what causes people to be motivated, what keeps people motivated. And around that 2-week mark, that 13 to 14 days is when we see a dip in motivation. So we know that. And if you know it, you can prepare for it. So part of building in your milestones into your goal, build something in at 2 weeks or every 2 weeks to keep you motivated. Find that inspiration. If you got to go back to your why, and maybe the why has changed. Maybe the reason that you begin to dream the dream has changed. So it's important for us to go back and figure that out. Another way that I like to continue my motivation, continue inspiration, find an accountability partner. I tell people all the time, go tell 5 people where you want to start, what your dream is. That's step 1. And a lot of times getting your mindset in the position to figure out what day 1 looks like and then just go execute. In the morning, I have a process where I start journaling the top 3 things I want to achieve that day. I visualize achieving those things, and then I remind myself of what goals that they're tied to. So I'm constantly have that dream where I feel like I'm working towards it. Some days I'm better than others. Give yourself a little bit of grace in this area. And then one of the things that I find success in is competition. I love to compete. So find yourself something to compete against. Find yourself something to go chase. I love the chase. So make it a competition. Those are ways that I have found to keep the motivation, to keep going when times get tough, because that motivation will fade, but let's plan for it. The second thing I want to talk about is creating those micro wins. And in this area, I talked about that 2-week mark. I like to program in milestones in 2-week increments. Keep it small. Don't bite off more than you can chew. I would rather start incrementally. Get those small wins. Begin that momentum where you're getting some confidence behind you. Because that's when we begin to create milestones and then achieve that milestone. It builds confidence. We begin to move from I think to I can, or I know I can get this done. You see where I'm going here? So a lot of what we need to do when we have that goal, and again, minimize your goals. I'm not a big believer in having 12 goals that I want to achieve this year. If you want to have 12 goals, break it down into quarters. I'm all about starting big, but then break that down into bite-sized chunks. So I like 90-day sprints. If you have 12 goals, break it down 3 goals a quarter. And then from there, break it down into even smaller sized chunks where you got 2-week milestones. So every 2 weeks, guess what? You're rewarding yourself. You're getting yourself a cheat day if you're on a diet. You may do some self-care. Go spend some money, spend some time on yourself. Date your spouse. Take your spouse out every 2 weeks after you've accomplished whatever you guys want to accomplish. Whatever that looks like for you. Celebrate. One thing about those bite-sized chunks is prevents us from getting overwhelmed. And if we need to hit that reset button, we're far enough along in the process to where it doesn't feel like a huge leap. We've already celebrated some wins and we've gotten that momentum. Now we just may need to make a small tweak in the process to continue us on the way. So the number 2 strategy is create some micro wins, and that's done by bite-sized chunks, breaking things down from macro to micro. And then last but not least, and listen to me, Go Be Great community, when I say this, we all have limiting beliefs. We all have that imposter syndrome that we're not going to be good enough, that we don't know what we're talking about. How can I ever start something when there's already 100 people in that area? How can I even get going when I'm not an expert in that field? So here's what I have to say to you. It's okay. Recognize those limiting beliefs. Again, a great journaling practice that I use. Write them down. What are those thoughts, those limiting beliefs that you have about starting that new business, going back to school, applying for that job, starting that exercise routine, dating that person that you've always wanted to date, whatever that looks like, write them down. When we write things down, now we got to face them. Now they're on paper. Now they're real. And until we do that, that's when we can start figuring out ways to move past those limiting beliefs. Because we have to recognize that we all have limiting beliefs. And then what we do from there, own them. Own them, recognize that you can change, and then we move past, over, around, underneath, whatever that looks like. Because having a novice mindset means exactly that. We're new. We're not supposed to know everything. When you started driving, were you able to recognize everything that was around you? You were hyper aware just of your foot on the pedal, whether it was the gas pedal or the brake. If you had a clutch or a manual drive, I tell you what, you had a whole lot of things going on. Now you had to drive with both feet. But now think about how you drive. Some mornings to work, like I'll get to work and I don't even know how I got there. Now, I'm not distracted driving, but it's just natural now. It comes to me. I put on a podcast. I'm listening to a podcast in the morning. I get to work and I'm there. It becomes second nature. Why? Because the things that were novice to me now have become ingrained and are part of my rote memorization. The action of driving is instilled within my fibers, my muscle fibers. Those are real things. So remember, next time that you have a limiting belief, write it down on paper, own it. Recognize that you are a novice in that area. You're not meant to know everything, and then figure out the steps on how to get past and move on down. This is going to help you build mental resilience. My good friend Jake says, go find nervous. Go do the hard things, because when it comes to that next challenge, you've already conquered the hard things. Now it's just figuring out how to get past those mental roadblocks. That mental resilience that we build by our experiences, our failures, and the challenges that we overcome. Remember that you can do it. Think back, not when you failed, but when you overcame. And remember that you too are good enough to achieve your dreams. And then recognizing that failure is an option. I have failed way more than I have succeeded in my life. And through those failures, I have gained that experience. I'm not saying I haven't failed in an area and then failed right again, but eventually, hey, I'm the one who took psychology 3 times in college. Why? Because I couldn't figure out that I needed to show up for class. 3rd time's a charm, right? But again, failure is an option. So fail fast, learn from your lessons. Again, it goes back to that mental resiliency that we are building, overcoming those limiting beliefs by recognizing them and then allowing ourselves to have a novice mindset. So the 3 topics, the 3 strategies that we discussed today for you to continue on the path and not abandon your dream. Just give it one more day, one more final push to get you there. Find the motivation when it fades. Find that inspiration. Go back to your why. Program those micro wins in. Break things down from a macro level to a micro level and then celebrate those wins. And then last but not least, overcome those limiting beliefs. You're a winner. You wouldn't be listening to this podcast if you weren't. Every one of you in the Go Be Great community can and will succeed. I have faith in you. I believe in you. Go out, achieve those dreams. Go be great. Talk to everyone later. Bye-bye. If you like what you're hearing, do us a favor. Click on that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up or leave a comment. That lets us know that what we are putting out benefits you. If you want additional information or resources or learn how to work with me, head on over to thejohnespinosa.com, because when we become better versions of ourselves, it helps us get others to where they're going. Go be great.